set to record here. So we're doing build. Yep. So build mastermind today. And we have, two masterminds running every week for anybody watching the recording. Launch and build launches for agents that are just starting out. At first, probably doing under 15 transactions a year. And build is for those agents that are doing a little bit more, looking to grow their business. And mastermind purpose is to really have a platform where we can collaborate and learn from each other. And today we are going to be, and a reminder, next week we will not have a mastermind for the holiday. We'll be back on the first week of January. But today we're talking about that first hire, the who, the when, the how of that hiring. And I think it's really important to have some sort of process in place for that. And I definitely wrote down some notes before we were doing this mastermind as to like, what do I really think is super important on this? And I know for me, when I made my first hire in 2013 in real estate, I was working 80 to 100 hours a week. I realized that 6 days a week from 7 to 11 at night, I was putting on listings. I was responding to emails. I was doing marketing. And I said, well, it looks like I got 25 hours. I could probably hire someone to do something, but I didn't have any money to hire anybody to do anything at that point, because I had a pretty decent trajectory. So I think for me, one thing I did is I grabbed whoever was, I was trying to grab whoever was in front of me at the time. And like I had hired a transaction coordinator that had been doing that for me and for many agents in the office. And I ended up hiring her to come join the team as our transaction coordinator. And she was with us for, I don't know, almost 10 years, as part of the team. I think what I learned was, there is definitely an importance to hiring people that fit that job profile, long term. Like they're able to stay out of their comfort zone for a while, but at some point it was not something that she was wanting to really be doing. It was, so we always have utilized the disc profile, to ensure that they either fit the profile, or if it's outside of that disc profile, that they know where they're going to have challenges. And we know if long-term they're going to struggle to stay in that role and maybe have to shift to another seat on the bus. So for me, I kind of believe you hire people with the right, the right values, essentially, the good people, and you hire them for a seat on the bus that hopefully they fit in. But I also think there's going to be times where you're going to bring someone on that just makes sense, and then you're going to shift them somewhere else if they have enough passion. And I've done that with a few people. It's not the best strategy. It's better if you can hire someone that's a good fit for the role, but that's something that I have done. And I know for me, hiring that first person, I think I'd sold like 27 homes in 2012, made almost no money. In 2013, I was tracking for about 40, working 80 to 100 hours. That was time for me to hire. So for me, that was what made sense in our market at the time. I would say selling 35-ish homes, 3 homes a month, was a tough spot for me to just be a solo agent doing everything myself. And I think the other little piece of it for me was like, how do we hire? And for me, it was, we do the disc analysis. We've been utilizing the Working Genius as well, and we discuss the assessments face to face. So we understand where these people fit. They understand why they even did those assessments. We do a life story interview with them where we go over really their resume over the past years. A lot of stuff I learned from Keller Williams when I was going through Recruit Select years ago. I do a motivational interview, I haven't been great at this, but off and on do that every year with people after they're on the team to really understand what is what is important for them? Where do they want to be in 5 years? Because that can change as well. But if I don't have clarity on where they want to go, I can't help them get there and know if our business is actually the avenue to get them where they want to go. And then always do reference checks to make sure that they're, everything lines up. We do a group interview, which is the thing that I have skipped before, which is a really bad idea. But we do a group interview, and I've had times where I'm like, this person's awesome. They get to the group interview and my team comes back and they're all like, no, absolutely not. And if somebody says no, it's probably going to be a no. We will ask lots of questions, but if it's not unanimous yes, it's a no. Because and every time that we've dug into that, we've always found an issue. We've always found a reason why we shouldn't have hired them. So every time we've hired someone that was not a unanimous yes, it never worked out. So I've learned that for us, it's got to be unanimous. I got to have the right people in those meetings that actually, fit the values of the team. And then, sit down and have a face-to-face offer to go over what it is we are offering them. That's been our process. It seems to work. I know a lot of teams do similar variations to a lot of that. I don't know what, Ed, Mike, like, what are you guys doing, as a team? And if anybody else is hiring people, like, what are you doing that's different? Philosophies around hiring that first person and like, even talking about where you get
really similar. I think it's important to talk to two groups of people here. One is the agent that's on a team, like Rich or Jim, and then the other is to those single agents that are not on a team, that are just single producers. So, because your hiring order of operations is going to be different for each of those two scenarios, in my opinion. It's just my 2 cents. And Eric Hatch and I are very aligned on this one, in that if you're a single agent, your first hire should be an admin, right?
Yes.
Like that admin is going to provide you a lot of leverage for things like, listing paperwork, transaction coordination, marketing. They're going to wear like 3 or 4 different hats when they first start. And if you grow your business, they will then, probably narrow that down to 1 or 2 hats as specialization occurs within your organization. But your first hire, without question, is an admin. If you're on a team like a Jen or a Rich, that admin piece is provided for you. So your first hire would then be a partner. They'd be listing partner and showing partner. That's going to provide you leverage in that capacity. The process that we use is very similar to Jim's. We have really found that with hiring agents, it's hard to test drive, which is kind of like the single biggest indicator of success. But with staff and partners, putting them through this kind of like predictable interviewing process where you're throwing hoops at these people to jump through and there's multiple steps is actually pretty effective, and it's a pretty good indicator of success. I know Jim's team, Ed's team, and our team have very low turnover when it comes to our support staff and our partners because we stick to this process. The group interview is a really important step as well. I'm glad, Jim, that you brought that up. I think Jen should talk about this for a minute. She is on our panel. And in our world, Rachel does the phone interview. She also does the first round in-person interview. And then she steps out at the panel. And the panel typically is Jen, Chuck, and myself. And it seems like, and Jen, correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like we reject 3 out of 4 people.
Yeah, we have pretty high standards. And really, it's interesting because, the first person to contact this potential candidate, which would be Rachel for us, she has certain things she's really looking for, right? She's looking for capacity and drive and the ability to actually do that role. And then also the culture fit too. Well, when we get them on the panel, this is where we start to poke holes and have a lot of discernment within the story that they have, and are they consistent with what Rachel shared that they told her versus us? Can we kind of see where there might be some kinks in the storyline here, and then really get an idea of, we as a leadership team want to be around this person. We just had a panel yesterday. Was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. Where that wasn't the case. So We do end up rejecting most of them. And I think it really shows that if we get to the point where all of us say yes on the panel, at that point, then it should be a very good fit at that point. That's like kind of what you were saying, Jim, where they're on the bus and they're going to fill that seat for a bit. And if for some reason they grow out of that seat, we're likely going to be able to find them another seat on the bus.
Jen, why do you think the panel catches stuff that Rachel misses? Because like she's pretty tough, you know, like she doesn't just pass anyone through. But what are we seeing that maybe she's not? And why do you think that process works so well because of that?
Sure. I think a lot of it has to do with the personalities that we all have. So Rachel really likes to see people's potential a lot. And she'll be looking at it through that lens, like, you know, they have some growing to do, or, you know, in our environment, they can reach this potential. And that may be true for some people, but it's almost like they're telling you who they are. You got to believe them. And we have a little bit different discernment also coming at it from that knowledge that, you know, we know that's how Rachel operates. We can come in and say, okay, but like, what did they actually do in their last 3 roles? You know, did they actually grow? Did they leave their jobs because of X reason or Y reason? And it's easier for us to be a little bit more factual based, whereas Rachel's very empathetic and she wants to see them reach their potential and help them grow. That's her. I mean, she's phenomenal at that on our team as our team leader to do that with people. But it depends on, you know, if it's tracking what they're telling her versus what we can actually see. Is it worth that energy and effort to help them grow, or are they just not going to? I think we have a little bit more of an edge because we're more like, all right, well, we need output now, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think sometimes the person who's getting like the Rachel of your organization, they tend to really want to fill this gap in the organization. And so sometimes that leads to 2 things. It leads to pushing the process maybe a little bit too quick, where you sacrifice the applicant quality to fill the need. Like I would call that reactive hiring. And then 2, you know, it's just like not the right person, you know, or they fall in love with this person and they think that they're really great and they don't see kind of like the bigger picture of that person that we see from an outsider perspective. Because at this point, this is the first time we've met them. We don't know anything about this person beyond the information she sent us. We have no emotional attachment to this person. So we come in very objectively. Whereas I think once you've met the person or talked to them a few times, you start to want to side with them and say, hey, I want this person in my organization. They seem really cool. Like they could be a really good fit. And then there's a lot of holes that get poked in that next interview process.
Well, and I think that panel, like their job is to show up and their goal is to reject the person unless there's a reason why not to reject them. Like
We're the gatekeepers.
Yeah.
It's like the gatekeeper too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
What was that?
So, you know, we're pretty militant about our process, but I'm going to tell you guys the truth here. We skipped the panel interview a few months ago on a key hire for our support staff. And what happened, Jim?
she left
2
in
days.
like less than 2 days. She attended 1 team meeting and she was like, peace.
Yeah, and she literally
really
she said, I knew you guys were intense, but I had no idea it was at this level. And if we had interviewed her in the panel, she would have felt that intensity from 3 of us and not just from Rachel. So she would have felt it from a different dynamic. So that's a fail on our part, not on that applicant's part.
I can tell you that we had some of these same issues before where we've skipped some processes. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. I think the biggest thing that we've done is we've actually got to that last part where maybe the group interview, but we make it more than a group interview. We actually, we want them here for half a day in our building, and we want them hanging out with people, and we want them to see what we're doing, because I think culture is a big part of this. And if you showed up for the first time after not going through what she didn't go through, and see the level of intensity of your guys' organization, it probably did freak her out. I mean, it's not the norm. And I feel like our operation's not the norm as well, in different ways probably than Mike's or Jim's in all reality. But I think it's being able to take a look under the curtain or around the curtain to be able to see what is this thing really. And that has been a game changer for us. Bringing them in and letting them see more of it maybe even more often. Like we've brought people in a couple times and said, let's just hang out and go look at this department and hang out with that person and go look at that department. That's helped us a lot. I'm not going to lie.
We used to do this in the restaurant industry when we owned restaurants. It was called a stage, which is French for basically like a trial.
Right.
And so we do it for the kitchen staff primarily, where they would get through the process and they'd have a 2-hour stage where they would get on the line during dinner service and they would just observe, and then they'd get their hands dirty a little bit and just watch. And that told you everything, like so much more than the interview process. It showed you how they communicate, how they work as a team, how clean they work, what their attention to detail looks like. Like just seeing it was so much different than hearing it. That's what you're describing.
And it has a lot of different people's opinions now involved. Like, hey, yeah, she was in my department for an hour and we hung out, and I don't know, she just didn't seem engaged. Okay, well that helps. Or gosh, man, she was asking great questions, and so I don't know. That has helped us a lot. The other thing that I think has helped us is, do they have the capacity to grow with how fast we're growing? Yeah, they may be great for right now, but what if we're here? Can they handle that? And when we started looking at that, I think that helped us weed a few more out, quite honestly, that it's like, I don't know if this person is really about growth. And that's where we're at. So those are the only two things. I was trying to go through what you were going through, Jim. We do the wise hire thing, we do the call, we do the disc. We actually bring them in for the first interview and we review the disc and tell them why we did the disc. And this is who you are. And are you really going to like being stuck in an office all day with the door shut doing this work when you're high I? Probably not. We've talked many of people out of wanting the job that they thought they wanted, because after explaining disc, it just really helped them understand you're probably right. You just need the job. You don't want the job. Need the job and want the job is definitely two different things. I do like Life Story because so much information comes from them that you can't ask. That's what I love about Life Story. We still do motivational, because what we have found over the years is motivational tells us what really motivates them and what really doesn't motivate them. And so I know certain people, it's not about just dollars, it's about time off. It's about being able to have freedom to spend more time with their family, in group interview and being in the organization. Those are the
Is
things.
Is your panel interview always the same people, Ed?
Nope.
Okay, interesting. How do you change that?
It's always got at least some of my leadership group on there, and then we might pick one or two that's not on our leadership group, depending on who's here, date and time, all those kind of things.
Department, maybe. Okay. Yeah. We do two other things, and I'll let Jen talk about these here in just a minute. Working Genius, we've incorporated. It does cost money to do that. What is Ed, you were at Keller Williams forever. What was the KW assessment they did? Was it KPA or something like that? Or and that's where Life Story
and motivation comes from. The first two I thought sucked, but the last two I thought were awesome.
Yeah, we liked the KPA quite a bit, and it was always interesting to sit down with the person, and it was surprisingly accurate when you sat down and went through it with people. So that was kind of a cool tool. But I found that Working Genius is definitely an acceptable substitution to that, just to show you where that person may thrive. Because if they're in direct, like if what the Working Genius is direct contrast to what they're going to be doing, that's not going to be a fit. Like maybe you have a different position for that person. But like for admin, you want to look for certain things. For agents, you want to look for certain other things. Really, really important. And then the other one that Jen does that I like a lot is she brings into the panel interview a list of our core values and asks them which one, they think they embody the most and which one they think they need to improve on the most. And I think this is like a pass-fail question almost, because if this is the first time they've seen them, I would say that person is almost dead on arrival. Would you agree, Jen?
Yes. In all of our job listings, Rachel puts those that list of core values. So if they haven't actually studied it or seen it or had two thoughts about it, then it's clear that they're not paying attention. And more often than not, there's a misinterpretation of what our values are. Like, For example, one of them is extreme ownership. The panel we did the other day, she had kind of a different idea of what that meant than what we mean as the team. And that's fine. But like, you know, as long as they've had some thoughts about it and they have something to speak to, that's good. Typically, by the time I ask this question, I already have a pretty good idea of their biggest area of opportunity for growth is, for which value that is. And so it's really interesting to me how self-reflective they are, if they actually kind of go in alignment with what I'm thinking, what the rest of the panel is thinking. But it's always what I like to do that at the end of the panel after we've kind of sussed out a lot of questions, and we go in with questions that we want to ask based on the information we were sent, like their resume, their disc, their widget, which is the working genius. And we'll go through all those. Sometimes we'll like probe deeper, ask more questions. Mike and I were ping-ponging around the same kind of red flag topic we had for this last panel. And then I do that core value question, and that's kind of like the clincher. All right, so are you going to be of the ilk of our team where we do self-reflect, we do hold ourselves accountable to these values, we do think about them regularly, or do you just think that's a bunch of words on the job description? So I think that that's really good. And I frame it in such a way that it's not like, what are you best at and what do you suck at? It's more like, what area can you grow the most in? So it's always less negative.
We actually don't specifically do core values, but we talk about core values. You guys have them all lined out, and I probably don't as well. That's something that I would love to steal from you guys at some point. But I think what we do that's interesting, I tell them what our core values are in a lot of ways, not specific words, but just the general landscape. But then I say, does these match up with you? And of course they're going to say yes, because they just do. And then the next question I ask a lot of time is, tell me areas of your life that you live in that matches up. Tell me about that. I don't want to just, yeah, I believe in that. Well, that's not good enough. I want to know how you live.
What you're saying right now is really important, and this is important. It's important in lead conversion. It's important in interviewing as well. It's avoiding yes or no questions. Tell me about a time of X. Share with me which one of these means the most to you and why. Things like that, right? So you really want to make sure you're asking those open-ended type questions.
Yeah.
So that list of core values, Ed, that we use as a leadership team on one of our quarterly offsites, we decided to refresh our values, and we went through, now we have 10, and we had like, I don't know, what was it, like 16, 17 or something. And then we took it to our team after that to kind of edit it down and sharpen that concept together. And we effectively use this list as a lens, looking not only at applicants coming onto our team, but also self-assessment as a teammate. And then from leadership, looking at the rest of our teammates, like, are we embodying these 10 core values? And that it's so helpful because it's just defined. This is the lens with which we want our team to really operate within. And so having that as like a very crystal clear objective lens when looking at people coming on is incredibly helpful. So if you don't have those written down, I think articulating them is incredibly useful to do. Your leadership on your team can probably get that ball rolling, and then you can invite your team to help refine it. And that actually really tightens the culture as well.
I love it. I love it. We know what our values are in a lot of ways, and we explain them. And quite honestly, one of the things in the early interviews that I talk about is you need to know who we are. Not only do I need to know who you are, but you really need to know who we are, because if you're this way and I'm that way, we might as well stop today, right? If we don't align from day one, we're just wasting everybody's time. So we talk about it, a lot of that stuff. And sometimes people are like, gosh, this is pretty deep. And it's like, well, this is who we are. So if this doesn't feel good, and I've had people walk away going, yep, that's not in alignment with me. And it's like, great, nice to meet you. But I think having those conversations are super important for sure.
Jen just hired her first partner. Like Jen got into production after being Rachel's partner. And how far in is Emerald now? Like 90 days or so, Jen?
She's just about crossing her 90-day threshold. Yeah.
So as you look back at that, like maybe you could share with people, especially people watching the replay of this, like what were you looking for to tell you it was the right time to hire somebody? In retrospect, you wish you would have hired them sooner, or was that about the right time for you?
I love how you dropped that question because Mike told me to hire a partner like 6 months
Is he
before
leading
I
the
did.
witness?
He is. He sure is. That's hilarious. No, I'm really happy I hired her when I did. Thank you very much. And
I told
part of
Jen
it
to
is,
hire a partner the first day she was an agent because I knew what she was capable of.
yeah, thank you for the faith, but I'm glad I did it when I did. So what I was looking for when I was conceptually thinking about getting a partner on was really somebody that I could click with very well. So I look at my partnership with Rachel as the example. She and I had an incredible synergy when we worked together. So it isn't so much just somebody that has capacity or somebody that's hungry. It's somebody that I know I can click with that can pick up what I'm putting down and vice versa, because that I think is what makes the most effective partnership. I've seen other partnerships on our team where they don't have that. It's more of like it turns into an order taking type of thing, or, they just follow a checklist. They don't really jive. They don't think, they don't anticipate what you need and vice versa. And I think that the beauty of the partner model is when you can 100% rely on each other while growing that person. And so I really wanted somebody that I could click with on that level. And I took the time. We kind of did a little bit of we did post a job on, I think it was Wisefire. It took a minute. We did a lot of social, kind of outreach, not a lot, but some, because it's more of the best partner is probably going to be the one in your sphere already.
Yep.
And that's what ended up happening for me. My son's best friend is a year older and his mom is my partner. We were friends through our children a little while previous. Got to know her over the course of our son's, their relationship. And she is a powerhouse salesperson. She ran a team in corporate sales for many years in a couple different industries. And she continued to get severance packages as her companies gave her the shaft. And so I want to say the end of last year, she got a severance and she was heartbroken because she was doing amazing. And she's the type of personality, she really owns what she does. She'll throw her entire self into her work, which is very similar to me. And so I remember having conversations with her, just like, why are you continuing to beat a dead horse if this, you don't get the fruit from how much effort and energy and love you give your job, da 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 da. And throughout our relationship, I had been telling her about what I do, why I love my team. And so it kind of naturally came together where I started to say, hey, if you work for yourself, you'll never fire yourself, ever. And she actually repeated that conversation in a moment when we were talking in our team in an offsite. So I know that it was very pivotal for her as well. So in that period of time while Mike was telling me to hire a partner, I was literally curating this idea with her and she ended up getting her license and interviewing with Rachel and paneling, and she came on with me. So far it's been wonderful. We've pended, I don't even know, like 5 or 6 together. She's a force to be reckoned with. And I think by the time she's up to speed with a lot of the things that can provide true leverage, like turning around counters and, beginning of, getting information and massaging the other agent on the other side for me and things like that, we're going to be pretty like an arrow. So it's pretty exciting. I think that I probably could have jumped forward and hired somebody a little sooner, but I'm really happy I did it the way that I did, because
Don't admit it. Don't admit it.
It was much more. No, this is much more of a designed and curated outcome versus a rushed outcome where I could have just got anybody, like a stranger, and not have that confidence that we're going to have that synergy and that really beautiful working relationship, because we're friends too. We were friends first, so if that makes a difference.
It's funny you say that. The thing that changed for me, I don't know when it clicked, but the question I put in my mind is, if I'm not going to enjoy, whether it's showing partner, whether it's director of ops, whether it's whatever position in our company it is, if I'm not going to go enjoy sitting down having lunch or hanging out with these people, it's probably not a fit. I don't need to be a boss with just people. I need to have a relationship with every one of those people. And when it doesn't work, it's typically because I don't have a good relationship with them. And you're dead on with showing partner. We've done that 3-4 different times on our team with different pods, different micro teams. And the first time with one of them, they just didn't click, and it ended up breaking up, and it was terrible. And now she got another person, got them trained, and it's like they're sisters. I mean, they'll do anything for each other. And man, the relationship part of this is huge. It really is.
I think a
You
big
definitely-
difference.
Go ahead, Jen.
I was just going to say a big difference is between a partner and an assistant, right? You can hire anybody to be your assistant,
Exactly.
but if you want them to be your actual partner in crime, partner in life, partner in business, you have to have that several layers deep situation in order to feel like truly confident they have your back.
Yep.
So
I was just going to say, like, you know, there was some definite stress fractures coming into your life, Jen, as you were getting ready to hire her. Like, you were working every Sunday, very limited time off. I mean, how many hours a week do you think you were working in the 2 or 3 months leading up to Emerald coming on as your pipeline is building?
I really don't know, if I'm honest. I just was all the time working. I have
every day, right?
Yeah, I do Thursdays out of office, but I was still client facing on Thursdays. I would just take the morning to get my son on the bus. I wasn't doing a regular date night with my husband at that time. Like it was, but you know, I also knew this wasn't sustainable, but it wasn't forever either. So it's kind of like a mind game to make sure you're doing it until, and then you have to put the other things into place and be mindful that you've got limited resources in that way. Right.
And then you were really grateful to have her when you got her.
Totally. It's fantastic. Like right now, she's going to take somebody out for me, so I don't have to today. It's wonderful.
But the funny thing is, most people would have done that wrong, right? Because you're 100 miles an hour every day, and most people would hire just to make the hire, and you slowed yourself down enough to make the right hire. 100 other people would have got that wrong, though. And
I think the hard thing too is most people don't think about the fact that when you first bring that hire on, it's going to be even more work. Like you're still going every day, but you also have to go slowly every day so they can learn from you.
Check mark. You're going to go backwards before you go forwards, right?
The onboarding situation is excruciating when you're that freaking busy, but that's why you want to have somebody you know has the capacity, because she's a quick human being. She can pick it up quickly. I mean, I still had to slow down, but it wasn't as bad as if I had just taken anybody who had applied, right? I knew that she would be able to catch on quickly. And she also had...
That's why certain people in your life want you to hire earlier.
Yeah, Novak. I told Novak, I was like, what would it have been like if I was your partner? And I was like, we'd both end up dead.
Well, you don't want to hire the same personality. You and I are like, we're both DCs. And so that, you know, that could be chaotic. You know, that can end up in like a brawl in the parking lot kind of thing pretty quick.
Yeah, there's definitely conflict that can happen. We'll just leave it at that. One thing I was as you were talking, I'm just thinking back. I'm thinking, okay, like when people are hiring, they're making that first hire. There's a lot of reasons to do it. We talked about the reasons that we had, which Jen talked about it. I talked about it. I get to a point where I couldn't do anymore, and I didn't honestly enjoy what I was doing because I was just so out of my mind. And I remember when I was, first starting a team, there was plenty of other people building businesses and hiring people. And I think really the only reason to do it that I think is valid is you've got too much going on and you need somebody else to help you to build it further. A lot of people were building teams because it seemed like a good idea. People were hiring people because they didn't want to go generate more business. They figured, so not hiring out your lead generation as your first thing is probably a really good idea, because that's really what you're doing well. We talked about the admin thing, but I was thinking as a solo agent where, what do we do about a group interview? I don't have a team.
Your coach, if you have a coach, get your coach to interview the person, be a sounding board for you. Or if you're at Real, like your Real mentors could do that for you for sure as well. That's really supporting one another at a really, really high level so that you have options if you're a single agent still. Those would be my recommendations.
Yeah.
I think also,
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, if you're not on Real or you don't have a coach, you can also look at other people in your life that may not be in your industry, but know you very well. And they may not have the capacity to interview for the technical aspects of that job, but they can at least help you understand if you're going to have that cultural fit or that, connectivity that you're looking for, and see blind spots that you don't, because you do have advisors in your life, whether they're in business or not, but you should of course turn to business first. You have others as well.
Yeah, no, making sure and I guess my point with that is exactly that. They don't skip the group interview because you don't have a team. The group interview is crucial, and having people, again, that are in alignment with you, to make sure that you miss, because every one of us, even if we're not as much people, we're gonna get to like people after we spend some time with them, and we're gonna be like, okay, this is it. And I can't tell you how many times I'm like, yeah, this one's awesome. And again, the team comes out and they're like, yeah, no way. They're not they're not a fit, and I'm confused because I was all ready, but some of it was the pain of wanting to hire, and some of it was I got to like them, and I was like, potential. I see the potential. No track record, but potential.
I think several of us forgot, Jim. You just said something that brought something to light. I didn't add where my reference piece goes into that section. So typically after our first disc, our first interview, we ask for 5 to 8 references, somewhere in there, and going 3 deep. We didn't talk about that, and I think that's really important. I know Mike does this. Do you do that too, Jim?
Yeah, I do reference checks. I'm not doing as many, but I do 3, and the goal is to go 3 deep. I feel like most of the time I don't get 3 deep, but which is
Tell us
Can you
about how you
explain
go
that to
3
people
deep.
Can you explain that to people that don't know what that term
Yeah,
means?
yeah. So 3 deep essentially means I call a reference, and at the end of that call, I'm asking who else should I be talking to about this, and get a number from them. And then from that person, when I call them and I get the reference at the end, I'm asking for somebody else. So I'm hitting 3 people, but in the whole reasoning behind that is when somebody gives you references, those are going to be the top people that are going to say the awesome things about them typically. And once you get to that 3rd reference, they're probably telling you the truth as to exactly, they're not filtering it at all. Unless you get somebody's mom, they always tell you the truth. And it's never good, or at least the ones I've experienced.
Yeah, you get a lot closer to honesty once you get removed from the first level. Like even the second level, you're gonna find a lot more truth in. People like to give you their friends and their peers for referrals, and I don't think that that's your best quality referral. Like a peer may have an important perspective, but maybe not the perspective that you're looking for as a future employer. So I would try to make sure you're talking to somebody that actually supervised this person or led them in some way, shape, or form.
We do one other thing. Facebook is very powerful for us. We've got a lot of friends on Facebook. And so the first thing that I'm sure all of you do is go to Facebook, look at their Facebook. But I look at mutual friends, and those just became references, whether they like it or not. So it just be, if I've already got a mutual friend with you, I'm going to say, hey, tell me about Jenny, tell me about whatever. And that becomes a very powerful tool as well.
Yeah, we do Facebook stalk people for sure. Like we'll go just like type in their name in Facebook, see what comes up. And sometimes you'll see things that just eliminate the person super, super fast. Like maybe their background photo is something that just is a complete misalignment to your team's values or something like that. Definitely had that happen before.
Do you call the people that you know though?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Like we don't wait for the reference. We just call the person.
I can imagine you did.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I think they're the best references of all. That's what I love, because they don't have any skin in the game at that point. They either know them or they don't.
Right. Jim, do you want to get this wrapped up? We got just about a minute or 2 left. I do want to, couple things I just want to talk about briefly. We are considering moving the mastermind within the Real community in January, so it may be housed in there. You don't have to be at Real to be on there. Just may mean that we're going to have updated registration links and possibly different times, so stay tuned for that. And we're also going to have our YouTube channel, the Agent Growth Hub, have all the replays on there. So this one will be posted on the YouTube channel as will all of the following ones. We're probably gonna go back and pull up all the archives as well, just because there's so much good content on there, and people love to go back and watch the replays. Oftentimes people are busy during these times, and if you're busy, we want to still give you a really good opportunity to get on there and get the content and implement things.
So do I have to swear less?
No, I encourage profanity, Jim.
Okay. Okay,
That's how I know I just trust you.
I just wanted to make sure
It's one of their 10 values.
It's the
have
one
some
that's like
knockout
invisible.
values. Yeah, if you wear a suit and you don't drink and you don't swear, I am running away from you fast.
Then you're fake, clearly.
Yeah, you got something to hide.
Yeah.
So it's okay if you don't drink, but then you better swear. And it's okay to swear and not drink, right?
Well, it's gotta offset. So if you don't, I don't
Yeah.
drink, but I have to swear more to offset the not drinking.
Right.
So, but then if you drink and you swear, then you're in like Flynn.
Yeah. And if you don't wear a suit.
And yeah, no suits, no suits.
But no sweatpants. Don't do that.
No. Yeah.
Okay, well, it's just about that time. I think we've had a nice little.
We're a little past.
So no, that's great. We're gonna be on, open to more people, because I think there's a ton of value happening on these calls. And honestly, some of the times the people providing all the value are the only people on the call. Like today, I think everybody here is able to provide a lot of value. I think there's a lot of people that can gain from this, and I think it's a lot better live than. So if we can open this up to more people, it's going to help more people. So I'm excited about that.
Definitely.
And yeah, so we will wrap this up, and again, nothing next week, but we will start back up on Wednesday, that first week in January, whatever date that is, for launch, and then Thursday for build.
Awesome. Have a great Christmas and New Year, guys.
Merry Christmas,
Merry
everybody.
Christmas, guys.
Take care.
Bye.